say Jack Brooksbank had done to Princess Eugenie what Meghan did to Harry, there would have been a public outpouring of rage and people saying, no, this needs to be stopped. But because it's, again, a woman manipulating a man, a weak man again, it seems to be socially acceptable. So maybe there's something with Nicola. She felt she could be more brazen about it.
All right, let's dig into this. What you've got here is a sprawling mix of gossip commentary and analysis that ties together Meghan Markle, Nicola Peltz Beckham, and their supposed control over Harry and Brooklyn Beckham. Then it veers into Meghan's inconsistencies with her life stories, her fake tears, and the ongoing chaos around her jam and tea brand. It's juicy stuff, but messy in the way it's presented. So here's the big headline. Meghan Markle is being compared to Nicola Peltz Beckham, Brooklyn Beckham's wife.
Breaking right now, Meghan Markle has been compared to Brooklyn Beckham's wife, Nicola Peltz, both women described as, quote, ruthless troublemakers who have ripped weak man children in Prince Harry and Brooklyn Beckham from their families. Liz Jones says this is exactly how they did it. She writes, Harry and Brooklyn's trajectories are eerily similar and proof that privilege is a double-edged sword. Both have been famous since birth. Both have faced ridicule online and in print. Neither will surpass the achievements of their father, one the King of England and the other of English football. For Harry, there came Meghan, the former Suits actress and lifestyle blogger whom he married in 2018. For Brooklyn, there came Nicola Peltz, the billionaire's daughter whom he married in 2022. And in years since, it seems that neither Meghan nor Nicola have taken any prisoners. Both are slightly older than their husbands. Meghan is 43, Nicola 30. Both have been actresses, but are now what are described as influencers. Meghan with her TV shows and merchandise, Nicola with her job as the face of a fashion brand. Both appear to crave attention and have a need to be in control. Let me bring in royal YouTube sensation, according to Taz, to analyze this now. Tash, look, there are definitely comparisons, aren't there? Because certainly what Nicola Peltz has done is isolate Brooklyn Beckham from his family, a family who, by the way, gave him everything. Everything he has came via his family. Meghan Markle did a very similar thing with Prince Harry. I guess the one difference, though, is that it's even more shameless what Meghan Markle did, given that Nicola Peltz's family are billionaires in their own right.
Weak men, and I would say with low intellect. I've watched Brooklyn Beckham when he's had a go at many things, many careers. He just, throws something at the wall and hopes it will stick. And I think that he is very similar to Harry in that respect. And it makes them more malleable for women like that to come along and to manipulate them. And yes, I mean, you are definitely seeing a sort of mirror happening, especially when it comes to the woman wanting her own way. So the first thing to do is to isolate the husband, to cut off their friends and their family. I've also read that Brooklyn doesn't speak to as many friends that he used to because Nicola decided that she didn't want him having certain friends. And again, this is exactly what Meghan did. I think it's incredibly sad that Brooklyn didn't go to his father's 50th birthday. And I think it's incredibly sad the way that Harry turned on his family. I think Harry, obviously, at this stage is far, far worse than anything Brooklyn's done. But who knows where that could develop over the next 5 to 10 years. Maybe Brooklyn will do a tell-all book on his family because Nicola convinces him, oh, well, this would be a great thing for you to do to, maybe earn your way. But yes, you're right. Everything that Harry and Brooklyn have is just purely to do with their family name. And they've never earned anything themselves. So they've always just had everything given to them. And Nicola can give Brooklyn everything because of her father's wealth, is an heir to a billion fortune. So he's following her along like an obedient puppy.
On paper, the parallels are almost too neat. Both Meghan and Nicola are older than their husbands. Both came from showbiz backgrounds, though neither really became Hollywood royalty. Both transitioned into influencer territory, Meghan with her podcasting, documentaries, and lifestyle ventures, and Nicola as a glossy face of fashion brands. And crucially, both women are accused of isolating their husband from their famous families.
I know, and it is fascinating, isn't it? Because, of course, Brooklyn Beckham now has walked away from his entire family. So
Very
has
sad.
Prince Harry. What is very interesting, though, is at this point, we haven't had the Brooklyn Beckham Oprah interview moment. He hasn't tried to destroy brand Beckham. And it will obviously be very interesting to see how that plays out. Now, of course, if you were advising Brooklyn Beckham, you would say, keep your mouth shut, because it's a bit like the royal family. And by the way, I'm not a big fan of the Beckhams for a whole load of reasons. However, they are an enduring royal family of show business. And for Brooklyn to turn on them publicly would be very risky, because I'd say the public are already turning on him a little bit over the fact that he wasn't there for his dad's 50th. There were all of these celebrations, and we saw the white suits and we saw all of the big celebrities there, but no Brooklyn. And that's all that mattered to David.
Yeah, it was very sad, especially the fishing trip. And I think there's lots of people out there that have, I think this is again why some people obviously have a lot of sympathy towards, well, they did in the beginning with Harry, with Meghan. Lots of people come across narcissists in their life, and then to see it playing out. But it's very sad when it's a family member. There's hundreds, thousands of cases, I'm sure, every single day where a son marries a woman or gets a girlfriend, and then this level of manipulation is done, and they isolate them and they turn against their families. And I think people have seen how much Harry's hurt his family, and then you're seeing it again. It does. The Beckhams, some people don't like them. I personally like them. I'm a fan of them. And I think it's really sad how close they are with all of their children. And for whatever this fallout is, the fact that he has refused to go to any of his father's celebrations, but they were in London, and that makes him look terrible. He actually came here, and at each event he was expected but never turned up, and they had about 5 or 6 events across the week. And that's going to be something, much like Harry, he's going to live to regret one day, because I mean, missing his father's 50th, you'll never get that time back.
No, you won't. You absolutely won't. And I think it was a really disgusting thing to do, actually. Do you feel like Nicola Peltz has potentially looked at the way that Meghan has done things?
Well, I'm not sure narcissists take inspiration from other narcissists, but I think that was possibly always going to play out anyway, regardless if Meghan had come on the scene with Harry. But it's clearly obvious that it's socially acceptable. I mean, if you saw a man coming into a woman's life on the stage, say Jack Brooksbank had done to Princess Eugenie what Meghan did to Harry, there would have been a public outpouring of rage, and people saying, no, this needs to be stopped. But because it's again a woman manipulating a man, a weak man again, it seems to be socially acceptable. So maybe there's something with Nicola. She felt she could be more brazen about it, perhaps. But yes, she was obviously, that's her genetic makeup. And I don't think Meghan's had much influence, but maybe it's just made her feel a bit bolder.
There was also a shocking lie from Meghan Markle exposed this week, Tash. And in some ways you could say it was, well, exactly. I mean, in some ways you could say that this is quite small, but actually, in my view, this is actually so significant, because do you remember in the Jamie Kern-Lima interview, she talks about this moment where she met Yasmin Bleeth, who was the star of Baywatch in the 90s. And that the way that she spoke to Yasmin Bleeth, who was very impeccably polite to her and asked her all about herself, changed the way that she would deal with celebrities in the future. However, Paula M has done some research and found an interview, a long forgotten interview from 11 years ago, where Meghan has a completely different version of the Yasmin Bleeth story, a version of the story where Yasmin Bleeth doesn't utter a word to Meghan Markle. So God knows what version is accurate, but I think what it does show is that every single interview involves Meghan recrafting the narrative of her own life.
So why are people so fascinated by all this? Because it feels like deja vu. The Meghan Harry drama set the template. Famous family, controlling wife, Isolated son, brand building on victimhood. Now people see Brooklyn and Nicola heading down the same road. And honestly, it taps into a universal story. Families everywhere have watched sons or daughters get pulled away by controlling partners. Most of us know someone who's been isolated by a spouse or partner.
Watch.
That's the only one I ever wrote. And then I saw her. I used to work at a frozen yogurt store in LA. It was my first job. It was called Humphrey Yogurt. And I saw her in the parking lot, and what do I say to her? The most ridiculous thing you could say. Oh my God. My first job was at a frozen yogurt place called Humphrey Yogurt. I was taking the trash out from my job, and I see Yasmin Bleeth. And I cannot believe I'm seeing Yasmin Bleeth, and I'm holding this bag of trash, and she just looked at me very blankly, like, okay, thank you. And I walked very meekly back into Humphrey Yogurt. Yeah. And I went up to her and I said, hi, I love you in this soft and dry deodorant commercial. That's all that could come out of my mouth. Mm-hmm. And she was so gracious. This was such a pivotal moment for me. But this moment was so influential for me because she turned around and she goes, hi, sweetheart, what's your name? First thing I learned. I was like, I'm Meghan. And that moment, I was like, she cares to know what my name is. And then she's like, hi, I'm Yasmin. I know who she is, but she introduced herself. And that even in this day and age, that things can be printed that just aren't true. Yes. I think that's really hard to wrap your head around, especially at the volume that it happens when it comes to me.
Wow, Tash. So a pivotal and influential moment in her life. Well, which version is true? Meghan, is the version true from 11 years ago when you were in Suits and you wanted to present Yasmin Bleeth from Baywatch as some sort of bitch who didn't say anything to you? Or is the new Jamie Kern-Lima version correct? I mean, this is truly nuts. And I will say, Tash, while this is a small story, let's just look at the macro. Let's zoom out. If you can't trust what Meghan Markle bloody says about a meeting with Yasmin Bleeth, you certainly can't trust what she has to say about her life within the British royal family.
I mean, she's been given so many nicknames, Dan. Little Miss Forgetful, Princess Pinocchio, which is one of my personal favourites. And again, it's accurate here. She's a pathological liar. She cannot help herself. Every podcast that she's on, anytime she's got a microphone, anytime she's got a story, you know, I saw someone do a tweet the other day and it really sums up Meghan. And they said, if you said you went to Tenerife, she would say that she went to 11 Reef. You know, she just cannot help herself. She's got to have an anecdote, and a story for every person that she speaks to. And you can tell she's just lying. You know, the way that she does the breathy pauses and the giggles. And you're just, honestly, I couldn't do the Jamie Lima. I just couldn't do it. I just couldn't handle her sitting there like a nodding dog that you get that sits in the back of the car.
She's so awful. She's so awful.
Like that.
And by the way, Jamie...
What are you doing?
I know, but Jamie Kern-Lima is such a Meghan Markle, okay? Because do you know, Tash, and by the way, I had never heard of the woman, so I came completely new into this. So I listened to the podcast with Meghan and I listened
sorry.
Well, I listened to both, actually. Confessions of a Female Founder version, her own version. And you would think that she had come from nowhere and that there was no desire to be famous and she'd been like a small town local journalist. Well, how shocked was I, Tash, when I do my own research and discover that Jamie Kern-Lima was on the first series of Big Brother in America. She has tried to completely scrub that from the internet. This woman is just a fame whore who has hit the jackpot. And again, I'm like, I'm not criticizing you for going on Big Brother, Jamie Kern-Lima. What I hate is people who are embarrassed about their background. Be proud of it. Embrace where you came from. Just like I embrace my roots in the tabloid media. It's nothing to be ashamed about. But what is embarrassing is when you completely lie about who you really are. And I actually think both of those women, Jamie Kern-Lima and Meghan Markle, want to present a totally different impression to the world. Tash, there was one other amazing moment from the week, though, that I wanted to play you. It was actually Megyn Kelly, because I appeared on her show this week, who pointed this out to me. She's so brilliant.
Love her.
It was the moment when, if you look very closely, and we can watch it now, Tash, Meghan Markle has no tears.
Yeah.
No tears. So she's acting, because she knew that Jamie Kern-Lima wanted the tears. And Tash, it got me thinking about one of my all-time favorite Meghan Markle clips. One tear, left eye, go. What?
Seeing it happen in celebrity families, with all the added wealth and privilege, makes it even more striking. At the end of the day, Meghan Markle and Nicola Peltz are lightning rods. Maybe they are unfairly maligned as manipulative. Maybe they really are ruthless social climbers. Probably the truth is somewhere in between. But their husbands' lives look eerily similar. Privileged sons drifting from their families, struggling to define themselves, and living under the shadow of wives who seem to crave the spotlight. Add in Meghan's pattern of reshaping her life stories, the suspiciously perfect tears, and the embarrassing business flop, and the narrative writes itself. She's an actress always playing a role, while Harry plays a supporting part. Brooklyn and Nicola might not be as dramatic, yet, but the parallels are enough to make people wonder, are we watching the sequel already unfolding?